Hey everybody, we're back. Sorry, we took 4 weeks off. As usual, you can blame Mr. Greg Gifford. He's out there gallivanting, traveling around. As a matter of fact, in 4 weeks, guy's going to Bali. But he says he misses you and he loves you all. Just saying. Anyway, I am joined today by our fabulous co-host, Miss Amy Toman, who is I would say you're still a pretty newly minted diamond product expert, aren't you?
I joined you in the club, yes, earlier this year. I did join
Yes.
you in the Diamond Club. There are very few of us, and
Yep.
very, very, very proud to be up there with you on that level.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank
Always
you.
nice to
Thank
see
you.
one of my mentees get go. Yay. You were mentored by a lot of us, actually, though.
I was kind of left at one point, so yes, I was kind of floating around.
Exactly. So, everybody, yeah, as you can see, definitely Greg is not with us today. So, everybody go ahead onto Twitter and make sure you publicly say that you miss him. I'm sure he'd be so happy to see that.
I'm
But
Blue
anyway,
Sky. He's on Blue Sky now. I will point that out. I did see
yes,
him come on the other day. There have been a lot of us who have moved.
which is
So if
very
you
true.
haven't thought about it, there's a great SEO community now that has just pretty much turned the lights off
Yep.
on Twitter.
And I think Andrew Shotland started up a Blue Sky, what they have a starter pack is what they call them,
Oh,
which
very
is
good one.
basically just a bunch of people to follow. And so I think is that, yeah, Andrew Shotland started the local SEO
Mike
group
B.
and
Mike B
Mike
started
B.
one for
Yes,
product experts
just
in
for product
Google
experts.
listings.
Yep, exactly. So it looks like the migration is occurring.
It is.
I'm actually thinking about getting one of those like little bumper stickers for my cars. Like I bought this Tesla before Elon Musk became a beep. Anyway, anyway. So hi everybody again. Hi, welcome. Here we are, another episode of the Local Marketing Institute. We don't have any graphics or sounds. Again, thanks, Greg. And so we all miss Greg. He'll be back soon. And so anyway, all right. So we're just going to kind of get into it. One of the things I want to say though is just housekeeping. Is if you have any kind of questions, thank you. I see one's already in there. Please put them into the questions and answers area of Zoom. Please be active in chat, of course, if you'd like. And as far as the Q&A goes, just go ahead and if you want us to roast a Google Business Profile, throw it into the Q&A. Make sure you use the tag roast my GBP. And then, hey, what's up, Paul? What's up, Bill? Daniel, Stephen. And so, yeah, so if you want us to roast a profile, it can be your profile. It can be a customer's profile. It could be a competitor's profile. We really don't care. We'll do all of them. So if you want us to go ahead and take a look at your website, we'll roast your website as well. We have no problems with that. If you just have a general question, feel free, ask it. If you have any questions about reviews, absolutely ask it. Amy Toman is the queen of reviews. And if you don't know that, now you do. So any kind of questions that you have, what's up, Susan? Hey, shouting. Love it. Except you did that to host some panelists, just like Danielle, by the way. Anyway, so but if you need anything about reviews, Amy is definitely the go-to gal for reviews. She's a diamond product expert. Actually, she has a holistic knowledge of the GBP ecosystem and the local ecosystem. So actually, anything that you would ask me, you can ask Amy. How's that? All right. So if you have a suspended profile, we can help you out a little bit. We'll see, maybe. But or anything else, if you need to kind of debug it or troubleshoot, we're happy to do that here. Again, please put all of these things into the Q&A. We're up to 2 now, by the way. Let's get that up to 10. All right. With that, we just have a very, very, very little bit of news. And then after that, we are going to move into basically a couple questions that we have been asked over the past week. And then we'll get into basically the questions. And now we have 3 Q&A. Yes, keep going. Yeah. Awesome, Bill. So yes, and then we'll go ahead and we'll get into questions that were asked beforehand. So the big things that really have occurred kind of over the past 2 weeks, and again, I don't have a ton of these, but just a couple of them. One is really so as we know, ChatGPT has now launched SearchGPT. Perplexity is getting much more aggressive with their AI search as well. On top of that, Perplexity is in talks of potentially acquiring Chrome, which would be interesting, or they're going to just basically build their own browser, which is, I think, is fine. It's okay, right? You know, it's so far Google's market share has only declined about 3 to 4%. I think the interesting thing, and Amy, I'd like to know your opinion if you have one, is that I went ahead and downloaded the OpenAI, the Search GPT or the Chat GPT app for Mac desktop. I don't think I've gone back to Google once to find information.
Wow, really?
Not
Really?
once. And I didn't do this like, hey, I'm going to just do ChatGPT. It's just like, no, it's over here. Somebody asked me a question. I'm like, okay, okay, yep, there's the answer. Yep. What about you? What do you see?
Um, I have not gone that far, but I have a few questions. Is that not based primarily on Bing's results?
So you're talking local. You got to
Hmm.
remember, most AI queries are not local.
Yep.
A majority, I'm going to put that like 99%, are information retrieval. So it's informational, not transactional. It's not going to be a local type of result. The local results suck. Horrible in Perplexity and yeah, they
Yeah.
suck all over the place. They're just horrible. Um, you know, and we can talk a little bit about that really quickly. I do want to ask the audience, and that is that how many of you are using Search GPT or Perplexity on a regular basis? And now I'm wishing we had the da, 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 music, you know, but we don't have it. So
Jeopardy music.
yeah, exactly. Jeopardy music. Okay. So Paul says no. Michelle says no. Susan, nope. Stephen, really? Haven't tried it? Wendy, no. Wow, really? Only, okay, not yet. Maybe soon. Haven't tried it. No. Mark uses both. Okay. All right. So there we go. It's like 90% are not using it, actually. So that's interesting. So maybe it's still only early adopter phase. That's extremely possible. The interesting thing is a couple things that I did see is that AI overviews now do have really good citations, at least in Google. Actually, no, in Google and Search GPT, actually. So it looks like what Search GPT is doing is they are using a lot of aggregators. So like TripAdvisors, people like that. Um, so it's starting to look like, you know, focusing a little bit of your marketing strategy as far as on the aggregators go might be a good idea for you. And Google has expanded the number of citations that they are showing, and now they're all on the right-hand side too. So you'll have the AI overview, and then you'll have, if you hit show more, you get all of the citations.
Hmm.
Like if you go and you search for how do I do a Google business profile reinstatement, you'll see that I've got two of those citations. One for Local Marketing Institute, one for my YouTube video.
Okay.
So So I think it's kind of interesting because it's not just that it's drawing off of somebody that links that are in the top 10 results. So when you're doing organic SEO for yourself, it's working on the AI overview as well. Um, what I was going to say is with ChatGPT, yes, it brings a lot of information in, say from Yelp or things like that for local results, but now it's starting to bring in Apple Maps results. So that's kind of interesting in itself. And the other piece of news that we have is that the Google Reviews tool, you can now select multiple reviews when you're reporting them or looking for a status. So that's cool. Actually, God, when did we bring up that feature request?
Good question.
I want to say it was like 6 or 8 months ago.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. All right. Anyway, I don't know anything else that you can think of that we haven't touched on that's kind of cool or interesting over the last month.
I'm pretty much, no, I will say that I have been, really, really head down for the past few weeks. So I'm with you on that. I can understand why, I think it's just the time of year. I
Yeah, I
think
think
we're all just,
I have to agree. I'm pretty much the same way. I'm like totally not prepared for today. Having fun though.
I'm just, you know what? I've been in the forums so much recently that I'm ready if people have questions because I tend to be very consistent. If you ever look at how many things I answer, I tend to be very, very consistent, but at the moment, I don't have a lot of like outlying questions other than what, I'm hoping everybody gets their LSAs together because changes with LSAs now. You have to have, I am not an LSA person. I will readily say that, but I do know that
Which
connecting
is
up with
weird. You should be
LSAs,
because of pets.
I should be, but I will tell you, we have where I am, we have at least one Google listing that's just it just created a mess. And I've seen some others are going onto the forum now. So hopefully the process of, whatever people are required to do will be, I guess Google is going is get when they hear these complaints that they will be able to kind of, fix things up and make sure everything just moves as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. If y'all remember last time we did the LMI, we were talking about this coming, and it happened like yesterday was the deadline. And so now, Google Business Profiles are the source of truth for your local services ads. If anything happens to your GPP, it pauses your local service ads. Sorry. Yeah, we know that you're really hurting because you're suspended. And guess what? Let's turn off the other 10% of the leads that you could have had. Yeah, because being out of business, why not? We'll kick you while you're down. Thank you, Google. So if you haven't gone in and connected your GBP to your LSA, you probably want to do that. Make sure you don't follow what they say, because if they say make a new GBP, don't do it. Don't do it. You will
If there's
cause
something
duplicates.
that just doesn't seem right with your Google listing, and again, that's the one that I'm most familiar with, just telling
Mhm.
you now, start with support, go there, don't delete anything, even if they tell you, if you need to go and post on the forum, post on the forum. But if they ever advise something that you just don't feel is right, ignore them and go to the forum because I've
Exactly.
got a few interesting responses on the one that we were dealing with. And I just kind of, I literally looked at my email feed and I was like, are you nuts? I'm not going to do that. That's just,
Exactly.
you know, it's just,
Always go ask a friend is what I say is absolutely when it comes to Google telling you to do stuff.
yeah,
Um,
definitely wasn't the thing.
exactly. So, by the way, everybody, keep on going with the Q&A. We are up to 4 questions now. Okay. So keep on going, please. And with that, we are going to get started with questions. And Amy, this one's going to be for you.
Ooh,
This one comes from Susan, who's in the audience today, I believe. I believe
yes.
Susan is with us. Yes, I believe Susan. Yeah. Let's see. Yep, Susan's right there. Okay, excellent. So Susan asks, well, she says missing all reviews, all in caps. We have 2 clients that are missing all of their reviews. We reached out to support, are working with a product expert, but it's been almost 6 months. Is there any course of action that we can take to get these reviews back? We have all the documentation on those reviews. Help.
This is, if you're already working with a product expert, I don't know what to suggest further other than to offer your documentation to them if you haven't done so already. Um, Google going to Google in the forum is the only way that I know that you can get reviews back. That is if they still exist. And Ben, you know better in terms of how they store them, how long that will last. And perhaps
Sure.
you can address that.
Well, the first question I would actually have for you, Susan, is this with these two clients, were these profiles suspended and then the reviews just didn't come back? Or did you kind of wake up one morning and the reviews were just poof, gone? It's kind of important actually to know which one of those two it is. So if you could answer in the webinar chat, that would be great. Wouldn't it be interesting if Susan's question's being answered here and she's just like off on a coffee break or something like that? Okay, there she goes. Since I submitted this question, dot, 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 she's learned, dot, 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 they were suspended. Okay, so that's good to know. All I can say is you need to be patient. Google is aware. Oh, wait, they were suspended.
But she
Somebody
said how
created,
long
oh,
ago?
no. This is ugly. So they were 6 months, but they, no, okay, different scenario. Okay, another scenario. Yeah, they were suspended. Somebody made 2 new profiles. And now they're trying to,
So
yeah,
Susan, let me just ask,
ooh,
were the
yeah.
listings reinstated, or did they just remain in suspension and then 2 new profiles were created, which Ben says that's what he suspects.
Yeah, they made 2 new profiles. Remained.
But oh no. I agree with you. Don't ever do
Yeah.
this. Do
So,
not create a new one if the one that you have is currently in the suspended state, because what happens, Ben?
I'm sorry, what?
If
I was thinking
you
about
have a
something else.
listing that is suspended,
Mhm.
and instead of just for whatever reason, you decide that you're going to create a new one
Oh,
and
it's
then ask
creating, yeah,
Google to remove, what happens?
it creates a duplicate in their ecosystem is what it does. So basically what's happening here is you've created new entities, the old entities exist, the reviews, if they're there, are still connected to the suspended profile. So therefore they should be able to move them to the new profiles. However, there are things that are happening at the moment which we can't really discuss under NDA. Let's just say that Google is aware of it and it will be fixed. In your case, though, it should have worked, actually. The transfer should have occurred.
Now, let me ask you, because I want to know more about this myself. Can reviews be moved from a suspended listing to a new listing? I thought that because they had that suspended label on there, that it usually didn't work.
It used to.
Okay,
It
interesting.
sometimes does.
I like that.
It sometimes does.
In other words, it's not harmful to ask.
Oh no, not at all. So, and what I would actually do is I would talk to support. When support says, which is usually what they will say, they're not going to say they can't find the reviews. They usually will come back and say, "We found your reviews, we restored them," but they don't restore any, or they'll restore a 1-star review. I've seen that too. So it's like, yeah, here's this negative review you got. All your positives are gone. So the problem is that the reviews are stored inside of the maps database. They're not actually in the Google Business Profile database. So moving them over from that database and finding them in that database, which by the way, the CIDs and everything is completely different on maps, over from there to actually your GBP is actually like an act of Congress. It's really difficult to do. And the more reviews you have, the longer it's going to take. So there's a bunch of variables that are at play here, Susan. How many reviews are we talking about? Did they make an attempt? Did they come back and did they say they found them and they're going to move them? Those are all valid questions that can help to kind of debug this. But the fact of the matter is there's something else going on. There's a bug at the moment. Can't really get into any kind of details. Yeah, 90 reviews, 70 reviews. That should have been like a 24-hour process, if that. So what I would do is for right now is go ahead and reply back to your last support ticket and say you would like to speak to a supervisor. They will call you. And when they do, then you can kind of drill in a little bit different, a little bit more. They may give you the guidance to delete the suspended profiles. If they give you this guidance on the phone, you must listen to what they say and do it. And then they might be able to restore the reviews, actually. So it is very possible. Otherwise, just go back to your clients and say there's a bug with Google. You can't do anything about it. They're working on fixing it. That's basically all you can say.
Cool.
All right. Wow, that was a longer answer than I thought. Okay, so let's go ahead and all right. Or we're going to save this for a little bit later. Somebody wants us to roast a bunch of GBPs. Yeah. 2 locations and a website. We're going to leave that for last. Why not? All right. Okay. Let's see. We'll go on to the next one. I'll take it, I guess. Dan, this is from Dan Heller. All right. And Dan is here. All right. Hey, Dan. All right. And you're welcome, by the way, Susan. All right. So this question I'll answer. This one is, let's see, GPP for second business located in another business by the same owner. These are always fun. Hi, Ben and Amy. I've been watching Heroes for a year now. I think I have the answer, but please let me know if I'm missing something. My brother-in-law owns a hair salon and has recently started a separate business offering men's hair systems. Oh boy, non-surgical hair replacement. To obtain a new GBP, we demonstrate it operates as a distinct business. That is correct. Both businesses share the same address in a strip mall. Okay, that's fine. Kind of. Signage. Add the hair. Here's what I've thought so far. Signage. Add the hair replacement business name and logo on the street marquee. Oh, yes, they have a monument sign. Nice. The main sign. Yes, definitely do that. Separate space. They're offered the hair replacement services are offered in a space within the salon that's separated by a door, hallway, and another door. Okay. Thought we should place the hair replacement logo on each of these doors. Sure. Also a different suite, by the way. You haven't mentioned that. So definitely do a different suite. Contact information, probably get a separate phone number. Yes, correct. Label the office in the back with the as office, right? Okay, yes. In addition to business creating licensing info, are these steps enough to provide to Google the hair replacement business is separate and eligible for its own GBP?
Can I ask one question, which I guess
There's
you may have answered it?
there's one thing missing, but keep going. Yeah.
I was going to mention, I often bring up that you have to have an office, like a designation, an office number, a suite number, a unit number separate that's also recognized by the post office.
Correct. Yeah.
That may not be the thing, but that's what I've always advised, and it usually works.
Oh, no, you should absolutely. You check it on melissa.com, Melissa Data. And if it doesn't exist, you have to get it registered with the United States Postal Service. Yep, definitely. The only thing I'm seeing missing from this list, though, is a utility bill, maybe.
Interesting. Good point. Very good point.
Yeah. Everything else is pretty spot on.
Yeah. It's a really great list. Well done. Well done on this.
Yep, exactly. So good job, Dan. You get a gold star today.
Gold star with LMI in it.
Exactly. All right. There we go. That one's done. Next one's for you. This one's going to come from Bill Hibbler. And Bill is here. All right. Reviews management tool stuck on decision pending.
Yes, it is.
Hey, If you recall, a few weeks ago, I asked about a negative review bomb my client got after a guy towed his car from the client's parking lot and got all of his friends to leave negative reviews. Oh, nasty of them. I followed your instructions on how to remove the reviews. I wasn't sure which reason to select as nothing really fits the situation, so I chose something else. It's been several weeks now, and they're still showing as decision pending. So I can't appeal them or take a next step. What do I do?
Okay. First of all, that decision pending lies. If in my experience, if you have not received a response or seen action taken within about maybe 4 business days, 3 business days, 5 business days, regardless of what it says, it's time to move on. They're usually in that tool, instead of checking up on reviews, you can go in and check on the reviews that you have already left. And then when it says appeal reviews, appeal decisions, click on that. Even if it says decision pending, just click on it. If it's been more than, like I said, 3, 4, 5 days, just click on it. It will allow you to move forward. And on that next step, you can go in and you can give much more context. You can actually use other grounds for removal because they link specifically to the prohibited content guidelines. And you can also, what I do 2 things. I both write it out in the text in the box that's offered. Plus, I also upload a document which includes all the basic information as well as a screenshot of the review and then a description of why I believe that it does not comply with Google's guidelines. That's the second step. And then, if that doesn't, the best thing is once you click submit, that step, the appeal step in the tool will give you the case ID. Whatever you do, save that case ID. You're going to need it later. If that is not actioned, you will usually get something back from Google on that. I'm not sure if you can go back and forth on that email kind of acknowledgement. But if they don't take action, take your case ID and go to the forum. I would give it, I'd give it 5 days, 7 days. At that point, I would move on. But definitely, if you see the decision pending initially, wait a few days, and regardless of what it says, go into appeal, and it'll be available to you.
So in other words, ignore everything that Google's basically saying on page and just kind of do your thing.
Yeah, give it a few days. Honestly, give it a few days for them to, assess and or take action. But then ignore what they say.
Then ignore what they say.
Oh, good. There's an appeal button. Go to the appeal button and
Exactly.
start track. The one thing I would say is if you are going to go to appeal, write everything out first. Have all your information. If you're going to do what I do, which is to submit, a document or even submit a screenshot, just make sure you have all that ready ahead of time so that when you get in there, you don't get all, stressed out and I have to leave for a half hour.
Now that's an excellent tip, and that's by the way, that is a golden tip. Just so you know, everybody, write it out. Google actually has to read that. They have to. They actually get bad points, negative points if they don't read stuff.
Oh, I like to hear that.
Oh yeah, I know it happens. I love it. And by the way, anytime you ask for a supervisor when it comes to Google support, they immediately get a kind of not a demotion, but a demerit because they have not solved your case. Yeah. So anytime you ask for a supervisor, a Google support person loses their wings.
That's it. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
All right. So this one comes from Brendan, and Brendan is with us. At least I think Brendan, this is the proper Brendan. We'll see. All right. Okay. So this is a A/B testing question. Okay. For rank trackers, I use a few. I guess my bigger question is more about the approach. This is A/B testing, by the way. For example, I have several link types that I don't think work the way they used to, like press releases. I heard the SEO department in my company. Oh, I had the SEO department in my company, but I need data to prove it to my superiors before I can stop using them. And I usually implement these links in tandem with other link types and even content strategy. Yeah. Do you have any way to test and isolate? So this question has been the question since early 2000s in SEO. How can I prove that the links that I'm getting are actually helping? Good luck with that.
I'll leave that to you then.
Especially, by the way, because you're doing a lot of different links at the same time from a lot of different places with a lot of different types of links, you're never, ever going to know whether they're working or not. The problem also is that because you didn't start, and I don't fault you for this, because you didn't start your processes with a testing methodology, you can't just kind of back up and go, my bad. Now let's test. You can't do that because the way the links function is that they function based on gosh, all sorts of things. But everything from the basics like time. How long have you had the link? How good is that link? How on topic is that link? You know, how many people are clicking on that link? How long has the link been there? What's the link age? By the way, these are all things that we think Google thinks about. We don't know that Google thinks about. But if you do think about it from a logical standpoint, all these things kind of do make sense. But you can't just interject a new link and go, now I want to see how that one did. Because there's all of these other variables that are out there right now at this point. So you can't do it. So unfortunately, the answer is you're not going to be able to tell. Unless you put up a link and then 2 days later, all of a sudden it ranks, but nobody else in your SEO department did anything for the last 6 months.
Nor did your competitors.
Right. Exactly. Thank you. Good point. Oh, nor did your competitors.
Well,
So
to me, that's always a big part of it depends, because people
yeah,
will sit there and go, it depends is a blow off, but it's not, because
no,
you can only control what you do and what your business does and possibly what your team does,
right.
but you can't control everyone else. So you
Exactly.
may sit there and go, oh my goodness, we did like the best thing possible. And, we added this, we optimized this. But that's assuming that you're going to do well because everyone else remains status quo. Well, in the
Right.
weekend that you did this, everyone else could have been doing the same thing.
Exactly.
So when you come back in, it's not going to be the same marketplace that you left.
And oh, hell, why not? We'll get into it really quick. This comes back to an even bigger kind of conversation to have about SEO and results. For gosh, north of 20 plus years, clients have been educated that they need to look at their rankings, right? And so, therefore, yes, the people that you answer to are going to say, what are my rankings? And you're going to say, well, over the last 6 months, on these head terms, we came up and we now are ranking number one. And so you're now, of course, yes, your person above you who you report to is saying, well, what did it? And you're going, I don't know. The problem is that you're reporting on things that, for lack of better terms, don't mean anything. Ranking doesn't mean a thing. Ranking is an indicator. That's all it is. But if you're ranking for underwater basket weaving classes in the Antarctica, you're probably not going to get much traffic, right? But if you are ranking for underwater basket weaving classes, right? And all of a sudden now you're number one and you're getting traffic and you can count that traffic and you can see the number of conversions that are coming from that keyword. Oh, now that's kind of cool to look at, right? Or the number of calls has increased to your dedicated local phone line, by the way, that is only tracked for local calls, has increased over the past 6 months steadily. That's something you can show. In other words, if you're focusing on the conversion and the action versus the ranking, you're going to do so much better. Unfortunately, that is not the world we live in. Exactly, Stephen, right? And it's going to have a very small audience, polar bear people. So, but anyway, no, I mean, so the fact of the matter is unfortunately, again, we've trained ourselves. We've trained everybody through the echo chamber to look at rankings, which is only a snapshot in time. Um, so unfortunately, your job is to try and weave in that better story, which is the story, by the way, that they care about, which is revenue, which is going to be sales and leads. Quick, very small historical story for you. Um, I used to work with actually all of the big web hosting companies back in the day and did all of their SEO. Like GoDaddy was one of my clients. And when we're working with these guys, their CEO would always say, "How come I'm not ranking for the keyword web hosting?" And I'd be like, "Okay, well, why do you want to rank for the keyword web hosting?" Well, my competitors do. Okay. How much business did they get from it? I don't know, but they're ranking number one. I was like, well, guess what? They're my client. I can tell you how much they're getting for it from it because I worked with them all. And he's like, oh, really? Can you? How much? I was like, it's a whole lot of nothing. He's like, but it's got the same amount of traffic as web hosting. Yeah, I know. I mean, website hosting, right? I was like, hmm. And they're like, okay, well, if it's got the same amount of traffic, it should have the same amount of conversions, right? No, it's based on intent. Website hosting is something who wants a website. Web hosting is something that you're searching for and he's searching for and your marketing person's searching for because you told them about it. So in other words, the entire industry is creating it. Anyway, my point is that you go after something that is going to cause sales. And if you go after something that causes sales, anybody in your organization is going to be able to understand that. How about you? Any more thoughts on that, Amy?
I work with attorneys, and a lot of times it just amazes me what kind of what they come back to us with and what their thinking is. And yeah, pretty much you have to explain to them. And even with the other people I work with, like dog walkers, pet sitters, a lot of small business owners, the answer is not necessarily why don't I rank so much as are you getting enough leads to work to live off this as a business?
Right.
Are you seeing a steady increase? Okay, then you're fine. It's just
You're doing good.
you have to be able to
Chill.
translate it out to the you as an SEO have to know your audience as well. You have to know how to translate to a client so they understand where things are and versus where they think they are, which is never often quite not quite the same.
Yeah. And I guess we can tie off this little question that's turned into this big, and that is that unfortunately because of that kind of mindset, which is well, if you don't know what's doing ranking, what's helping us with ranking, then we need to just start cutting things. And unfortunately, that is usually what occurs. And then unfortunately, they will probably tell him to cut most, if not all, of the link building activity because he can't prove it, which is a shame because it probably is helping,
Mm.
But unfortunately, people at the C level make really rash decisions sometimes based on, especially if you can't come to them with data. So you need to come with data.
Right.
All right. These are the old questions, by the way. Well, actually, no, I'm going to ask this to everybody else. Oof. I don't know if I want to ask everybody this one. Exactly, Daniel.
I like that.
All right. We're going to try and burn through these. We got 20 minutes. Yeah, okay. I'll screw it. I'll ask everybody. All right. So we got 6 questions in the Q&A from people who are here today. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the equal amount of questions that were asked 4 weeks ago that have not been answered. So yeses or nos in the chat, please. Do you want us to go over the new ones or actually say new or old? So you want to go over the new ones first and then the old, or do you want to go after the old ones? People have been waiting and then go over the new. And if we don't make the new, we'll get to them in 2 weeks. All right, so we got new, old, ugh, new, people who
You
are
may
here,
regret having
no
asked.
matter, old, new, new, mine's in there. GPP roast. Oh God, we do have the roast, don't we? That's actually a good point. We do have the roast.
I was thinking I would say we should just flip a coin because it seems fairly even, but quite frankly, I don't have a coin. Um,
Oh, new split to 50-50. That's a good idea.
well done. I'm
Okay,
impressed.
okay. Or I'm just saying, everybody, or we could just go into the roast and leave all the questions for 2 weeks from now. I'm going to give that to everybody. You can do a yes or roast. Roast, say roast if you want the roast. Say no roast if you don't want the roast today.
Oh, I think you have your answer there. It looks like mostly roast.
Oh, everybody wants the roast. Who's having? I wish we could do gifts in here. That would be awesome. All right. Okay, fine. Roast it is. Roast beast. All right, let me go find the roasts. There it is. All right, everybody. So, for everybody who is not getting their questions answered today, you can pretty much blame the crowd because everybody wants the roast. So, sorry. Roasting it shall be. I'm sorry, Mark. But then, Mark, you're still speaking to the hosts. You're not speaking to everybody else. All right. So, we're going to do the roasts. We're going to see if we can even get through them, actually, because we got 2 GBPs and 1 website. So, maybe. And then maybe we'll come back to Mark's question if we can do it in the end. Which one was your question, Mark? Mark Smith? I don't have a question from you, Mark. Sorry. Okay. All right. So here we are. All right. Let me give these to everybody so they can take a look if they want. Doink. There we go. All right. They want to be roasted to get some feedback on opportunities. The client is a typical client of ours and ranks well where they're located, but wants to rank well in a nearby city such as Providence, Boston, Springfield. Period. That's what's going on. Okay. Fine. So let's go ahead and let's do it. Amy, you want to take main location or secondary location? Why don't you take
You
main?
know what? Yeah, I'm just pulling it up here. Why don't you start?
All right. I will go ahead and start with their main location. You want to work on you want to do the secondary
Hold on a second.
or you want to work on the main with me? Why don't you work on the main with me?
Let's do the, are we talking about the first one I pulled up was, Bridgewater?
Let's
I'm not
take a
sure.
look. Ooh.
Hold on. Let me get back to where I'm supposed to be. I'm sorry. Things got a little funny.
Oh,
You go ahead.
give me a second here. All right, there we go. Okay. Okay, so this is dry zone basement systems in Bridgewater. Okay. Gonna do this a different way, actually. There we go. All right. So let's see. Just taking a look at this. The cover photo that Google has chosen for you looks pretty decent. It's a truck standing next to a bunch of trees. You've got 300 exact reviews, 300 reviews, and a 4.0 rating. So that's pretty good, actually. All right. So,
May I mention something about the images?
of course.
There are very few with humans in them. I would have a few more. I saw one, but I would add a few more, especially if there is if staff are provided branded shirts, branded jackets, branded hats. so that people know who's going to show up at their location. Yes, I know the truck is mentioned, but I would still,
Mhm.
to give some scale to this, I would still show people working.
I agree. I agree. People love people. Let's see. Everything, the basic stuff is filled out. You've got your service areas as counties, which is fine. I mean, for this kind of business, it's totally fine. Again, rank, just so everybody understands, service areas do not impact ranking. Got to say it. All right. You're using services as products. Eh, okay for now. Waste of time
They're
for the
good
future.
as until Google says they're not.
Exactly. Good for now. Waste of time till the future. Just saying. Um, Although I've got to click on this and see what it says right now. I haven't clicked on this in ages. All right, cool. You all got it. All right, so it's pulling in reviews from the web. You didn't really do that, but that's good. Um, okay, you've got your
Has socials, has
contacts.
social links, which is nice.
Yep, you got your social links, which is great. Got a good description. It's pretty decent. You're doing Google Posts. Okay. All right. So I got to tell you about this on Google Posts. This is a bugaboo for me. First of all, the first line should always be your leading headline. It should be a roughly 80 characters in length and should also end with a period or exclamation point or something, right? That will make it go to whatever's next after that goes to next line. Currently, right now, it's all running together. As a matter of fact, it's all running together. The next thing is that what you want to do is you want to make sure you look at this stuff. That's what we do for our clients. We'll make a post, but then my staff goes and actually looks at it from the public view to see what it looks like, because this is a very visual product. It's a visual converting product as well, or feature, I should say. So just make sure that whatever's in this preview is legible. Because currently, right now, it says this crawl space encapsulation is worthy of a photo! Exclamation point. Wonderful. A new vapor barrier specifically are.
Clean space.
That's it. Just are.
Oh.
The other one. This crawl space was causing problems for Rumford or Rhode Island homeowners until they gave. That's it. Until they gave. Okay, well, your client adds the photos and posts. Maybe you should sell them on a different service where you actually control it. I'm just saying, if they're not doing it well, then then you should do the service for them. Oh, you just set it up? Oh, okay. Yeah. You might want to think about adding a recurring service to your lineup that helps your clients fix their stuff. GBP is important. If you're just doing a set it up and walk away, that is the wrong attitude, my friend, for GBP. There's way too much business that comes from this thing to just set it and forget it. We say this all the time. Don't set it and forget it. And that's what this sounds like. You need to be in there all the time. So I would definitely sell that to your customers. Yeah, you see, yeah, I get it. You're optimizing service area and services, but again, service areas don't impact ranking. Services do.
May I
So
just
anyway,
point something else I've noticed?
yeah.
There really are no UTMs on those links. They're going specifically to those pages, which is cool. But I would think for analytics, you would want to have a bit of a UTM on there to know when you posted
Oh,
it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. The next thing is, let's see, let's take a look at these review responses.
First question, are there review responses?
Well, they are, but
Oh, I'd like to point out how very cool it is that people have included photos with the reviews. Hopefully they're good reviews, but I'm just noticing that they did put reviews in there a few years ago. Joy or somebody noted that when this happens, when reviews do include photos, they tend to stay at the top a little bit longer. So
usually,
good on
yeah.
them for having that.
Yeah, they'll stay in the most relevant. So, all right. I'm not going to be too harsh about this, but I kind of am. The review replies that you have are lacking in the force. In other words, they're very quick, they're very dirty, they're very passionate. Um, Period is what it is. Got to remember when you're leaving a review response, you're not leaving it for the person who left the review. You're leaving it for somebody who's going to read that review. That's who matters.
Yep.
So when somebody says, excellent service from Dry Zone Basement Systems, by the way, capital Dry Zone, capital Basement, capital Systems from Balingjak Singh. Okay, come on. Your client, either your client or you is buying reviews. I'm sorry. I have to say this. That is
And
not
you can
how
say
people
that this
react.
is a real person in, wherever Bridgewater. I went to college near there, I will point out. But when you have both a name that seems a little bit foreign to the area, matching up with not so great English, people become a tad suspicious. At least I know I would, because I'm very cynical about these things at this point.
And not to mention, nobody's going to type in the name of your company with capital letters. Nobody cares about that. And nobody's going to mention your company in a
Oh,
review.
I would love to scrape these. I would love to scrape these and see what they were received. You got to be careful, kids. This is not hard. It is not hard often to figure out if the pattern of reviews points to
Yeah.
cross a
I mean,
bad outcome.
like Tony Green's is probably a real review. You know, it's a little bit longer in length. It's definitely talking, it does mention the person's name, which is nice, you know, and the review response is a good response. It's a decent response. Um, the next review, yeah, it's a one-liner, you know. Um, look, look, kids, I'm going to say something really quickly because you all need to hear about this. It's okay to throw the review into ChatGPT and say, write me a nice response to this review in my voice. Keep it brief, under 80 words if possible. Now, ChatGPT has a hard time with words, which is good, by the way, in this case. And then it'll go ahead and it'll write the review response for you. Read the review response first. If you don't like it, ask it to do it again. Give it some more guardrails until it comes up with something that you would actually say. And then use that for your review response. That's okay. It's acceptable. It's totally acceptable to have AI help you with these responses. What's not acceptable is a one liner, or in some cases where see people just say thank you. These things are not acceptable. So, and unfortunately, a lot of these responses are one liners. Thank you, Ryan. Kevin and his team will be so happy to hear your feedback.
This does not strike me as it strikes me that these have been farmed out to somebody. I do a lot of farming out responses. So that person does not necessarily have intimate knowledge of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Nor
that
do they care,
respect,
by the way.
exactly. I mean, me, I care, but when I do it, I look at everything. I make sure everything is compliant. I make sure I'm using the person's name, but I'm just saying,
Sure.
sometimes when you farm these out, you're not going to get the same sort of response. But I do understand what you're talking about is the best type of response. I mean, I'm just happy that there are responses because sometimes you'll go on the list and you'll see 300 reviews and like the last 5 have been responded to. And there's all of these others just sitting there. And you kind of want to go, kids, this is not set it and forget it. You need to get somebody, even if it's just somebody in your office who is just, receptionist. You need
Yeah.
to train somebody to go in and do this. It's better if they're optimal, but it's just good if they're even there. P.S. Google does not judge you and does not use the content of these for ranking. But as
Not at
Beth said, and
all.
this is the biggest thing possible, people who read them, potential clients, they're the ones who you're writing to in here. Unless somebody brings up something, particularly awful, you don't want to be promotional per se, but you just want to say thank you so much for coming on here and doing this. If you can mention something specific to the situation, great. But to me, the whole idea that they are responding to so many of them, it is definitely a good start.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy, by the way. We really appreciate that you took the time out of your day to leave us a 5-star review. We are definitely going to let Greg know exactly how you feel about him.
Yeah.
And we might even go ahead and send him on a vacation. The entire team here really wants to thank you for everything. We love to give the best work that we can, and this really helps us understand how we're helping our clients with your underwater basket weaving, by the way.
In the Antarctic.
In the
Oh,
Antarctic.
but you know what? I really love the answer to I like the answer to the 1-star at the very top from Josh. We're sorry that your install did not go smoothly. Kind of like if you think it's a legit review,
Right.
acknowledge the problem, respond
Even if you don't think it's
professionally.
legit.
Sorry.
Even if you don't think it's legit, respond to
Well,
it.
I think there's different ways you can respond, whether it's legit or not. But what I'm saying is just remember, because I've had this happen, don't say something that is, if you are disputing this review, don't respond in a way that will encourage the person to change the content of the review, especially if you are disputing it.
Yeah.
I've had this happen, and it wasn't me who responded. And I said, don't respond at all until we have the process done. So I'm opening a whole nother kettle of fish. I realize that, but just be careful with your responses. Remember who is going to be reading them.
So they are careful with their responses, but guess what? I'm looking at the reviews for Sterling, the secondary location,
Oh,
and there's some that are a couple years old, negative reviews that just haven't been replied to. For the sake for the cheap seats, respond to every review, including old ones, please.
well, I have a question for you, Ben, how you would handle this. I realize we're kind of getting near the end here, but
Sure.
if there are reviews over, I don't know, 6 months, a year, and you're coming in, this is a new client for you, would you recommend responding to those knowing that those people are going to get notified of that response? Do you
Sure.
think that matters?
They probably never even they probably don't even remember the experience. So why not?
I
I
mean,
mean,
I always tell them I
unlike
just think it's good, do it. But
unless you did something really, really, really horrible.
well, again, this is what I was saying. You don't necessarily want to do something that is going to encourage them to change something. Like I have seen the oddest things, like a 5-star review that was absolutely awful. I mean, they said the worst things about the service that was provided, but it was 5-star. And I kept wondering, was this like an evil genius or was this an accident on their side?
Oh my God. You have to go to the website.
Okay, I'm going from Sterling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at their service area page.
Oh,
This is a little bit of a case of I'm going to go overboard.
oh, wow. I would love to put this into Screaming Frog and see how many pages there are.
Uh,
Holy smokes. What we're talking about, if you're watching or listening and you haven't noticed, when you go onto their service area page, If you go into say the second one, Barnstable, Massachusetts, there are what, 20 or 30 pages that are all okay. It's Barnstable,
It's a lot
Brewster,
more than 30.
Vancouver. It's like a ton of pages specific to these little towns. And I've been in a lot of these little towns. They are little towns.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going overboard.
Yes.
Um, this is
Wow.
definitely going overboard. There's a lot of little things on here that I see that are just they shouldn't be
Painful.
done. Like linking to your own homepage from your service area page
Oh,
with your business name. It's kind of silly. Um,
well,
Please
this
visit the
was,
Basement Systems National Headquarters website. Okay. National headquarters? Really? National? They only have 2 locations. It's not national. Anyway, I'm being nitpicky at that point.
I'd love to know where I could have sworn that they were further out because I
Oh,
swear
it's
I've
part of a
seen them
network. Got it.
someplace in New Jersey at least. Because I've seen these ads around in my
Never
area.
mind. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, basically, unfortunately, it's like everything that has been done here. This is the unfortunate part. Is probably actually being for the most part ignored. It's just a bunch of links.
Hmm.
What this I forget the name of the tool. I used to use it all the time back in the day. But there was a tool that you could put a web page into and it would show you how Google sees it,
Oh,
how
nice.
Google reads it, basically. And what this would look like is this would look like 2 columns of links. So it would basically look like a link directory, even though it's linking to your own site.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
So, but we're going to do a test because
Uh-oh.
what do we do if we don't do what are we saying if we don't do tests, right? We're basically making assumptions, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do dry zone basement systems, and I'm going to do one of the cities. Okay. I mean, it's the reason where I'm going to do this is because I want to see if it shows up in organic ranking as a long tail query that nobody would ever do. And so
Hmm.
just like I thought. Okay. Here's the bad news. The bad news is, no, I'll give you the good news. The good news is that your service area page does display as number 1 when I search for dry zone basement systems yard mouth port. However, as suspected, yard mouth port is not displaying as a service area page. The
Hmm.
reason is because all of these pages are probably being flagged as dupes. Every single one of them, probably.
Yikes.
What I would do is I would have your client pay you to do an audit on the page, is
Wow.
because this is not working. This is not doing it for them, basically. Um, we really don't have time to go into today how to create a good service area landing page. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this roast to 2 weeks from now, and we can discuss that because I
Hmm.
think it's important to go over.
Yeah. Yeah. The finer points.
The finer points of a landing page. So I'm going to just make myself a little note that we will get to you, Lewis, in 2 weeks. All right. We can do it very, very, very silly quickly, Lewis. Yeah, I mean, that's what I am. Is like, okay. Oh, you means one on one of the service area pages. There's not enough time to do this, but I mean, the big thing I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for the same types of content. And I'm almost going to assume that the same kind of content is on every single page, um, because you got so many service areas. So unless you're using ChatGPT, which I doubt you are, um, I mean, yeah, the navigation's fine. It sticks at the top, so it's okay. But yeah, I mean, if I'm a user coming to this page, I'm going to skip by the map at the top. I'm just going to look at your services and I'm going to go. Everything else is kind of filler space. You have any quick thoughts on that, Amy?
I'm just noticing something else too on the listing, actually. Okay, let's see, Buzzards Bay. Now it's still going up there. No, I just nothing. Don't just ignore me.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I like to, me personally, I like to have unique content on these pages also. Work requests from a location, I don't really think helps. Maybe job stories from that area, but I like to have a little bit more unique content on each specific page. Have I gone like really fuzzy or what?
You totally are fuzzy.
I
You're
look like
fuzzy.
I'm normally fuzzy. Make it
Fuzzy
more
Fuzzy
fuzzy.
was not a bear. Fuzzy Fuzzy was Amy Toman.
There you go. There you go. There, here. That's not
All
helping.
right.
Anyway,
Okay. We'll get back to that next time then. So, with that all, everybody have a fantastic, awesome Thanksgiving weekend. Be safe, be good, and we will see you back in 2 weeks. And don't forget to hop on X or Blue Sky and harass Greg and wish him a happy Thanksgiving. So, bye all. Thanks for coming.
take care.